I've got an incredible voice to this nation, Leanne Manas, and we're going to be talking about health, wellness, performance from someone that I highly respect over many, many years, who's been in the media, who's had incredible success with her health, incredible success with her family, incredible success with her career, and she's just a person of integrity. She's a person that I've got to know over many, many years, going to the same holiday resort. Welcome to the Made to Thrive show, Leanne.
This is so nice. Steve, it is so wonderful to be with you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Brilliant. I do want to start off, and one of the books that I was reading and you asked me about a couple of years ago was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And in this crisis now, and in this pandemic, so much loss, so much suffering, yet Viktor Frankl said between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our freedom. In that space lies our growth. How has the pandemic been, in your personal space, in your family, with your health? How have you navigated the last 14 or 15 months?
That was one of the most surreal moments, because I remember I asked you the beginning of 2020, I sent you a message because as you say, we go to the same holiday spot. So the holiday was over. I was back from holiday, and I remember you sitting reading this book, and you just said it changed your life. It was not the first time you were reading it. In fact, you've read it so many times. And there you sat all by yourself at this table, underlining quotes and lines from the book. And I could see you pondering off into the sea and trying to figure, life out. And that's when I said to you, okay, Steve, please send me the name of that book. I immediately went out, I bought the book, and I wrote a little note to myself. And in the front of this book, I wrote, Dear Leanne, please take care of yourself. I need you for a lot longer. Love from Leanne. I've never done anything like that before. And that was in the start of 2020. And boy, oh boy, did I need that book. Did I need that message? Did I need everything that unfolded thereafter? Because I tell you what, this has been a hard year for us all. It doesn't matter who you are, and it continues to be a very hard, extended year. So I think it's just been, we as a family have really tried our hardest to stay healthy, to abide by rules that protect each other and respect each other's space. I've got my parents still very much so in our lives, and my in-law as well. And, we sort of made a decision that we're not going to be going and socializing and living life how we used to at all. And we're still in that particular phase in our lives. So, it's been tough, but mentally, I think, has been the toughest part, because you've just seen people get sick around you, and there's, you can't be there for them. And my son got it, and that was one of the hardest times ever, to not be able to hug and comfort your own son who is sick because of this thing. It was crazy. It's just been a crazy time, but here we are, and we're talking.
It is a crazy time. There's a whole new science called post-traumatic growth, and not the traditional understanding of post-traumatic stress syndrome. There's a lot of research, and there are many books that have been written about post-traumatic growth. Regarding your mindset, because I think there's a lot into the mind, in terms of Viktor Frankl's work, reading the book, perfect timing for you and myself. I've read it many, many times. But are people going to have to choose? Either I'm going to have post-traumatic stress syndrome, I've gone through loss, grief, and suffering, or can people actually self-actualize and say, I'm going to go through post-traumatic growth? Am I being ideal, or is that the way that people should be looking at this pandemic and the loss and the grief that they're going through?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think we have an option. We're in it. We're in the middle of it, or where we are. I don't know where we are, because we thought we were in the middle of it months ago, but now it turns out that we're in the worst of it. But, I don't think we have an option but to rebuild ourselves mentally, because a lot of people have lost absolutely everything, not to mention about the fact that people have lost lives, they've lost businesses, they've lost livelihoods, they are watching people suffer around them. They can do nothing about it. But mentally, it's a time where we all need to step up to the plate and say to ourselves, either we let this get to us, and those of us that are left behind keep looking backwards and think, man, that was really bad. What do we do? And, how can we actually move forward? Or you say, okay, it's happened. What have we learned? And how do I dig deep to push through? and it's quite, it sounds so simple and maybe naive of thought, but I don't think it is, because I mean, I the other day went on a very long needed holiday. I was desperate for this, and the whole time I was there, I'm no runner. I really am not. I just try. I honestly am not. But I mean, I'm not. Gosh, if I was in your peak physical condition, I'd be running every day to look like that. But I'm not. It's not who I am. But when I'm on holiday, I try. And so I started off running 4-point-something Ks. The next day I got up and I ran 5 Ks. And I in my mind, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd say, I can't do this again. Oh man, I can't do this again. Then I ran 6 Ks. And then again, the next day I ran 8 Ks. And I'm thinking, you know what? You put your mind to something and you can do it. And it is a matter of, it's mind over matter. It's about actually realizing that you have to overcome your own negativities. And we are our biggest enemies, and that's a fact. So mind strength, there's nothing more important in your life, nothing.
Great. Now, my little daughter, who's 5, in the last 14 months, you know, when this thing started, she wasn't 5 yet. She turned 5 this year. And last year, she turned 4 on the 30th of March. She missed her party. It was a big deal. Just started with lockdown. And she's running around in the initial stages. Where's the virus? Where's the virus? Is the virus going to get us? What's going to happen to us? And there's this fear and this anxiety and this environment that has just sort of the young ones that have been very, very vulnerable. You talk about mind sort of management and mind strength. What are 3 basic steps that you can give the new generation, the youngsters, or, you know, maybe not 5, and maybe I can distill that and sort of make it simplified for my 5-year-old, but even your own children and their ages. What principles can we give them so that they can strengthen their mind, so they can overcome this and be the recipients of post-traumatic growth rather than post-traumatic stress syndrome?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the first things that I've told my kids is, you know, and just like your little gorgeous 5-year-old, you know, my kids have also, you know, they haven't had parties, they've missed out on friends, they've missed out on school tours. I mean, in fact, as all of us are, they're missing out on the beauty of being with your friends and at school, and all the plans that they'd made had all fallen apart. And so that for me is a lesson that I have told them to keep with them for the rest of their lives, saying that you will make plans. That's what life's about. It's about making plans. But when they go wrong, and a lot of the time they go very wrong, it's how you handle and how you change to adapt to the wrong. Because you can plan as much as you want to, but when one thing steps in your way, is that going to unravel you, or are you going to move around it and carry on in another direction? In fact, I sat down with my son and he had a speech that he needed to write. And I said to him, okay, let's speak about, I wish I remembered the name of the river, but you'll know it. I mean, you know, you're my wealth of knowledge, you jump in here. But there's that one river, I think, a bridge. It's a bridge that they built somewhere. You remember the story? They built a bridge, and this for me was it's a greatest example that I've given to my kids. So it's a bridge that the guys, gosh, I'll get the country, it was somewhere in South America. They built this beautiful, strongest, incredible bridge that nothing would move this thing. It was just so strong. It stayed where it was. There were storms, there were floods. In fact, there was a hurricane, and this bridge stood exactly how it was when it was built. And it was actually seen as one of the most incredible feats of mankind. However, when you looked at that bridge and you look at it now, it is just a bridge, and the river is no longer under it. The river has changed its course. So the bottom line is that the bridge is still standing there in its strong, unbelievable state, serving zero purpose. So that is the one lesson that I said to my kids. And I said to him, right, there's a story. Now write a speech about it. How has this pandemic changed you? And that, I think, was the greatest idea, is that you may build yourself in such a rock solid way that you actually don't ever want to change your goal or the way things are. And if something happens, you fall apart. You learn to adapt. And this is how we all need to be. I mean, we know it. We've seen the greatest history examples of people that didn't adapt with the time. And this is a time of change. We're living change. Never could we ever do this before. Sit and have a conversation online. If I couldn't get to your studio, this didn't happen. But it's happening now. And I think that's a lesson that this generation are learning now. In fact, they're learning more lessons now than they would have if they were just leading a normal life. I mean, where in the world is a grade 3 or a grade R, double R, learning technology the way they're learning this technology? And I know they're losing a lot, but they are gaining things.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of way I think that mind has to work. Find the positives in this bad situation.
Yeah, no, what I really like, you sort of summarize that, and then you got your children to think about it and then write a speech about it.
Yeah.
And when they start journaling and writing, putting their thoughts together, and then start saying that speech, it becomes part of their thinking and part of their mindset, which is really profound. You know, I think there's a lot of science on journaling, on writing these things down. They become part of our subconscious mind. I interviewed Bruce Lipton from the Biology of Belief. Our first 7 years is you're just literally in a hypnotic state, downloading programs from what you see and experience from parents, from close family and friends, and how important that is when we have to rewrite those programs, those belief systems. How important it is to stop, think, and then journal, and then express and teach others through our own thoughts and opinions. So well done to you. Now, I want you to just think about this. Leanne Manas, headlines on the paper, Morning Live. She's a new health minister.
Oh God!
What would you be saying? What
don't.
would you be saying into South Africa? Now, I'm not one here to be critical, but I do think there's a lot of health principles and practices that need to be spoken to the population of South Africa and beyond, in terms of how people need to look after their health. I mean, the research and science is there. People know the healthier you are, the stronger you are going to be able to fight this, you know, C19. But there's been a lack of teaching, expression to the people of South Africa, to the youth of South Africa, to look after their health. What would you be saying on Morning Live with regards to people's health, how their health can benefit them getting through this pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think the biggest thing is yeah, I mean, gosh, I wouldn't want to be in government. That is the first thing I'd say. I don't know what I'm doing here, but seeing I'm here, let me say a few things. But you know, I've been very disappointed over and over again the way things have been handled, and you know, on the level of our health department, the state of our hospitals, the state of our public healthcare system. It is dismal. It is absolutely dismal, and it makes no sense because we have the money. The amount of money that this country has, and we've seen being flouted in so many ways due to corruption. It is infuriating, and nothing upsets me more, because you look at the hospitals, you walk through the different passageways of our public hospitals, and they're a disgrace. Why? We have money. We have professionals. Do we respect them? No. Do we pay them enough? No. What do? That money is stolen, and nothing is held accountable for it. So, you know, for me, I would want to, as any sort of government official, to actually put people of integrity and people that deserve to be in positions, not because they're there to wealth themselves. And that for me is a very, very first point that I would put up in any sector. It doesn't matter if it's education, if it's health, if it's, you name the sector, that's what I would do. Okay. But, you know, to answer your question about the importance of health, besides, you know, the anger that I feel when I see the corruption that takes place and the fact that we're not getting good enough healthcare, is a definite emphasis on mental health. I don't think we take it seriously enough. I mean, if you look around this country and you see how it's still something that is frowned upon, that people don't take mental health seriously. We don't give leave for people that are burnt out or that have any sort of issue with their mental health. You can have a cold and the flu, but if you're having a nervous breakdown, then, you know, you got to take leave and sort yourself out. But if you got the flu, you know, we'll pay you to go and sit at home so that it's not contagious. And for me, that doesn't make sense, because a mental wealth, mental health, mental well-being is your wealth, you know, and that would be a great emphasis that I don't think we place enough on that. I mean, if I could only find one thing, I suppose that suits the theme that you live by, is looking at that and trying to sort that out. I mean, there is so much to sort out. How do we run a pandemic without one of the biggest hospitals being operational? in a country. How does that happen when in Johannesburg and Gauteng we're seeing 10 to 15,000 cases a day, and we are one massive hospital down with nothing to show for it, and that no field hospitals, no nothing. So yeah, we have problems. We have huge problems, but that's where you almost have to stop looking to government and start looking within yourself to try and strengthen yourself to get through this time, if you're privileged enough, because not many of us are. Not many of us are.
It's true, and the Made to Thrive community know that the word doctor comes from the Latin docere, which means to teach. And so doctors are there to teach you so that you empower patients to look after their own health and take accountability of their own health. And if we look at Nietzsche's words saying, he who has a why can bear almost any how. And purpose is one of our most important pillars, Leanne, at Made to Thrive. Purpose in life, it's a whole movement, it's a whole process, how it has benefited your health, it decreases mortality, sickness, chronic disease. How important has purpose been in your life, with your struggles in your health, your successes, and waking up on a Monday morning, having what the Ikinawans called ikigai, a reason to get up in the morning. At Made to Thrive, we've got TGIM. That's the acronym we have. Thank God it's Monday. And people are waiting for weekends. They're waiting for holidays. Work is bad and holidays are good, and weekends are good and the week is bad. And so we're trying to swing the pendulum to the other side and say TGIM. But how important has purpose been in your life with regards to your health, your wellness, and your success?
I love that, Steve. I confess I'm not part of the TGIM crew as yet. I'm more of a TGIF person. I'm sorry. In fact, my family and I sat down. I sat with my kids over the weekend. It's funny, I have to tell you. And we had this conversation like, why? Why do we only have 2 days in the weekend? Can't there be more? Okay, I'm going to have to revisit our conversation.
Relook at that, Leanne.
Sorry. Okay, I shall do that. I will do that. Purpose. Oh man, I'll give you 2 examples of I could speak forever, but I'll give you 2 examples. I will never forget the one day. My husband Mark, and we were traveling. We were married. We didn't have kids as yet, and we were in France, and we'd taken a trip, and we'd hired a car, and we were with a friend of ours, and we were going to wine farms and having picnics and just exploring and having fun and just being so sort of carefree and going to the best of the best champagne places and restaurants and going out dancing and blah, 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 blah. And yet I kind of felt empty. And this was the weirdest turning point in my life. It was like, I said to Mark, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm not feeling the way I normally feel, because my passion in life is to travel. That's all I ever want to do. And we were traveling and doing the most wonderful, wonderful things. And suddenly I just felt so empty inside. And I turned around to Mark and I looked at him and I was like, oh gosh, you know what I think this is? It's my biological clock. And it was ticking. It had to start ticking in the most beautiful place on earth, where I suddenly felt like, what is the purpose of all of this? Like, I know it's lovely and we are being selfish and I'm loving this, but there is something missing. There is something so fundamental that is missing in our lives. And that was the first point where I ever felt that I needed a purpose. And those purpose were these beautiful little angels that I gave birth to, and the 2 of us have, and we love them. And one of my main purpose in life at the moment is to wake up for them and to give them the best that I possibly can, and not materially, not spoiling them with material things. That's the kind of upbringing I had. Is to give them the knowledge, the education, and the tools to thrive. That for me is the purpose of my life, and that moment will always stand out for me. The second purpose was when I got a phone call to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was just saying that is for me such a tangible goal that was there to achieve. There's wonderful things of setting your goals much further down the line. You can't really see them. You plan for them, and that's what makes it sometimes so hard. It's like, I know I'm working towards a goal of retiring and it's beautiful and I'm saving and all that, but you can't really physically see it. But when you're climbing a mountain and you've trained so hard to do it, and then you arrive there and you see the peak, it's a goal you can see, feel, touch, smell. And it's like, oh my gosh, my purpose for the next few days is to get to the top of that for nobody else but myself. Because seriously, summiting Kilimanjaro is I mean, it's no great thing. You get to the top and you stand next to a wooden pole that says Uhuru Peak, 589. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, you expect
Yeah.
fireworks or something to happen, but that's not what it's about. It is about progressing so much within yourself, and you actually get to feel a tangible change inside you, because everything you worked for, everything you trained for, everything you focused in on yourself is reached at that moment, and it overwhelms you in a way that I don't think you can ever explain to anyone. I mean, when I stood at that peak, and I wasn't meant to stand at that peak, and I tell you why, because I was unfit, overweight. I'd never ever slept outdoors or in a tent in my life before. I don't hike. I don't do these things. I mean, I often joke about it and say the only stars I've ever slept under are the 5 stars at the entrance into a hotel. I mean, okay, maybe not 5, but whatever. But those were the stars I slept under. So I really wasn't meant to make this, and I did. And mentally, I pushed through, and I always give it as an example is that you need people in your life that want to see you progress. Surround yourself with people. You may want to see this progress in yourself, which is wonderful. But if you have people stopping you, then you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't have Mark there by my side on that summit night, pushing me and telling me I can do it, you're okay, I'm with you, and whatever you decide, I'm by your side. I mean, that is amazing. And make sure you have those people with you to see that progress and allow yourself to do that. And that for me are 2 massive turning points in my life that are amazing. And I'm waiting for that next thing. Maybe this is that next thing, is progressing through this pandemic in a way that is actually going to make us better off. There is an end. We don't know it yet, but there is an end. And I hope we're all better off for it.
Yeah. And I think there is an end. And if we can embrace this post-traumatic growth, I think that's going to be incredible. Can we look at this pandemic and take what we can from it to strengthen ourselves, strengthen our minds, strengthen our physical bodies? There's some people that have been in the best physical shape they've ever been just because of necessity. I think of Nerval Ravikant saying that suffering is the seed of change. And sometimes it's only when we suffer do we actually bring about change in our lives. But I do want to move to the second pillar of Mates Right, which is community. You spoke about it. There was a fantastic study in the 2007 New England Journal of Medicine that said this, and it's most profound. I've only discovered recently, Leanne, that if you have an obese friend, you have a 40% increased chance of becoming obese. Your friends that don't know your obese friend have a 20% increased chance, and their friends have a 5% increased chance of becoming obese. And obesity is not a percentage of the population, but it has a network effect that is probably greater than any social media platform. And that doesn't only go with obesity, it goes with smoking, it goes with lifestyle habits, it goes with divorce, it goes with alcoholism. How important is your community, Mark, your kids, your sibling? How important is that with regards to your wellness and your health?
Well, Steve, for me, it is the most important thing. I live and work in an environment where it's amazing. When I was growing up, I always told my kids I was surrounded by friends. I mean, my parents couldn't keep up with me. My house would be a train station. There would be just this group, that group, another group, everyone partying, this one, that one, this one. I mean, I just surrounded myself with so many people. And through life, through age, through experience, through wisdom, through learning and seeing who really means things to you, and especially in the industry that I work in, is that a lot of people want to associate with you because of what you do, not because of who you are, and I see right through that, and that's why I keep a very small circle of who I call very close friends, who I label my community, because they are true, they are real. Some of them, when I met, don't even know what I do for a living, and that's what's so nice. They don't have a clue, but they actually like me for who I am. And these people are those people that I say to. I mentioned it to you in the previous answer by saying that, if it wasn't for who I surrounded myself with, i.e., Mark, and I had a guy with us who was the Sherpa on the mountain. If I didn't surround myself with those people, I could have given up, thrown the towel, and walked back down, or I would be worse off for myself now, being pushed to a level that was unhealthy. But no, ensured that that my interests were in their heart. And that's the community that you need to surround yourself with, are people that actually care for you, that people that are actually, and sometimes we take those people for granted. Those are the ones that we tend to ignore more, because the ones that look, they make it look so good to be their friends. At the end of the day, they don't really care. There are those few that you need to love, respect, and cherish. And I think at a time like this, again, this is another learning moment for us, is that you will see that during this time, how your community may have been that big, and then suddenly it shrank to this, because you only kept in touch with the people that were really, really close to you when we were locked away from the world. Those ones that dropped you a message to say, how are you? You jumped into my mind. I'm thinking about you. Those ones that made the effort to check on you, to ensure that you are well, and you stayed in communication with those people that fundamentally cared about you and you cared about them. That's how small your community really is. And those are the people that you fight fearlessly to have by your side. Protect those guys, because there's nothing more important than surrounding yourself with the right people. And they do. I mean, you're right. Steve, you're so right about the influences around you. And I often talk to my kids about that, because, I'm my eldest he's now 11 turning 12. So we're about to hit the teenage years. So, and my other little one is 8 turning 9. So I know I'm about to enter soon into these teenage years, and I'm going to have to start loosening up the ropes and the strings and allowing them out. And we're always very open with our kids and talk to them about, you are going to meet these people in your life that are going to dangle whatever it may be, the drugs, the smoking, the drinking, the misbehaving to a point that it is beyond misbehaving. It's actually breaking laws and doing things like that. But understand what we've taught you, and you will make mistakes, and we're here for you. But try and realize that these people are not the ones you want to surround yourself with. And those lessons you learned from a kid up until when you're an adult, I think they're values that always stay with you. It's important who you surround yourself with.
Good. I want to move on to things like nutrition, movement, exercise that you can speak into. I found that being a health coach for many years, people don't have underlying reasons to say no to that junk food, no to that packet of crisps, no to that second chocolate. They don't stick to diet plans. In fact, the research shows that people that lose weight, within 5 years, 80 to 95% of people have put that weight back on, or even put on more weight. Now, two big reasons we've discussed in purpose and community that help us sustain our transformation are, according to me, the underlying reasons why people maintain their transformation. But will you speak to nutrition, regarding immunity, your exercise plans, things that have worked for you and things that you still struggle with?
Yeah, I struggle with food. Steve, I wish I had your discipline. I do. I mean, food and I have always had an unhealthy relationship. We have. I love it. I love it too much. And I sort of don't know where the off button is. It's ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous. And I admit to it. And I see, I know my weak spots, but I know that. And I try very, very hard over lockdown. Before we went into that hard lockdown, I've never been in better shape. I've never been healthier, fitter. I've never felt as good as I did. And then unfortunately we locked down, and, one thing led to another. And suddenly I realized I could bake bread and cakes and biscuits. And I was suddenly the baker man. And I was like, what? I even made my own pasta. Really, what? Who was I? But yeah, so it was all just wonderful. And then I suddenly realized, hang on, whoa. We're going back to where we were. I'd managed to drop 17 to 20 kilos. That's how good I was doing. Wow. And I thought, no, this is not on. And so I tried again to regain it. But it is a mind thing. It is a thing where I know where I have to stop, because I realize, no, you're doing the wrong thing. So for me, it's realizing, is that I know I have an addiction, and sugar is an addiction, and eating is an addiction. I may not be a smoker or a very heavy drinker, but my drug is food, and I know that. And I have to be very, very careful about that. So that for me it is so important, and you feel better. you know, when I was eating well and healthy and I was looking good and feeling good, I've never ever, you know, my confidence levels went up. You know, I became a role model to so many people without even knowing it. And I just saw people around me suddenly wanting to lose weight, and they did. And they were dropping. My brother alone must have dropped about 25 kilos. A cousin of mine did. Another one, people that I didn't even know just contact me. So when you say that, you know, you look at people and they inspire you to change, it's a wonderful thing to see. So it is good. It is important. And you have to look after yourself. And when I said to you right in the beginning about, I was the least likely to actually climb and summit Kilimanjaro because of what I was in. But the one thing about me is I've always had a heart like a lion. And it may be a lion's heart that sometimes my goals are bigger than what I think I can achieve, but I land up doing it. So like I ran my first 5Ks when I was over 40. And it all started with me just sitting and watching my son playing cricket for like an hour every single Friday, 1 hour and a half. And I'd sit just watching, doodling on my phone. And on the field next door was a little running track. And I thought, I wonder, and I've never run. Running has always scared me. And I thought, I wonder if I just walk around it and maybe run, walk. Let me see how that goes. And I started doing it. And then before I knew it, I was running like 5Ks in a circle until I realized how boring that was. And then started doing it. And I ran 5Ks and it was the most beautiful thing I felt. And then kickboxing, running. Now I do the high intensity gym. I always make sure exercise gives me life. It is such an important aspect of my life. And I see people that don't exercise, and it just, you know, when I don't, I actually feel myself going down and starting to get depressed and starting to think about things that I don't normally, and not feeling happy and, you know, not liking myself. And then I'll go out and sweat and come back and I'm like, why didn't I do that sooner? And that's the reality, is that when you look after yourself and your body will look after you. I don't know. That's my experience of it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful feeling, even though it's small. I'm not talking big stuff here. I'm talking 5Ks, and I just ran 8Ks, and the most I've ever run is 11Ks. And that for me was the best moment of my life ever. But it's small. These are small things that you can attain, and they make you feel better, and you brag about it. It is a beautiful bragging right. I love it. And one thing I always say is don't look down on somebody for their 5Ks because you run the Comrades Marathon. My 5Ks is your Comrades Marathon. Just look at it that way. Never, ever look down on somebody for I mean, when you see these grossly obese people walking on the streets or training at gym or doing anything, never look down on them. Those guys are out there trying. They may have realized they're turning themselves around, and I respect them more than anything. So yeah, respect us, 5Ks. Be great.
No, absolutely. Well said. You know, it reminds me of one of my favorite books from last year, Leanne, called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Small, little measurable actions that you can put in place. And the first action you put in place is something that you cannot fail. If that's 1 kilometer, you go and do the 1 kilometer. The more you succeed at 1 kilometer, you can build up. So you were actually habit stacking there while the cricket was going on. You were now walking, you were using that time, which is another one of James's principles. I think there's a book in you, young Leanne. I think it's time. So? I think there's a book in you, and I think you carry a voice to this nation to bring truth and accountability. I think your purpose is far greater than your kids, although your kids are very, very important, Leanne. But if your kids get taken away, as what happened to Viktor Frankl, God forbid, he lost his pregnant wife, he's lost his parents, he saw them get taken out, yet he still had a choice, he still had a response, he still had freedom. It was never taken away from him. And I think yours is to bring much truth. Yours is to bring much accountability, and you bring that to your children, you bring that to Mark, you bring that to your brother, your close community, you bring that wherever you go. And that's why when you wake up in the morning, we need Leanne to speak truth and bring accountability to whoever she connects with. And I think there's a book that I would like to come from you, because I think it's so important for this nation. Now, back to the health minister. What are we going to say to the nation? What they should be hearing? You know, is it the 1 kilometer movement, exercise? What are we saying? Because the health minister isn't standing up speaking to the nation of South Africa to do these things and put these things in place. We hear about masks, we hear about social distancing, and I deter social distancing. I believe in physical distancing. There's a big difference. In fact, we need social closeness. We need to be closer than we ever needed to be in my lifetime. And we need to actually make sure that we get together with our community. It's more about physical distancing. But what are you going to say to the nation of South Africa? And who are you going to bring on to speak these truths, these healthy principles and practices, like mindset? Who's going to be teaching our children, like the things of nutrition, fasting, exercise, close friends, close community, getting together, knowing your purpose? We talk about delighting in your purpose at Made to Thrive, which means you've got to discover it and you've got to delight in your purpose. Leanne in her purpose and Steve in his purpose. Yeah. So tell us, how are we going to get this message out to the people? Because I'm pretty sure that if the pandemic passes tomorrow, people will move back to unhealthy lifestyles straight away. And that is my concern, because for me, this is just the start of a pandemic. There are going to be many pandemics, many issues to come. I mean, heart disease in America is escalating. Cancer is the second leading cause of death. And third is what we call iatrogenic illness, which comes from medicine. Third leading cause of death in America is come from the medical community themselves. Yeah. So we need to empower people to take accountability of their health. But how are we going to do this, Leanne?
Oh, man, it's such I don't know. I really, really don't know. I mean, I respect listening to somebody like you. I think that your voice needs to be louder and bigger, because these are the kind of things that people need to hear. In fact, this is the thing I needed to hear. You know, I must say, one of the amazing thing is that when I told you I've got this unhealthy relationship with food, when I'm stressed, I eat. And the crazy thing is that by eating, I make myself more stressed and actually bring bigger health problems onto myself. And I don't, it's taken you to point that out, and for me to say, whoa, hang on a second, take control again. And it's voices like yours, it's voices of people that are in your community that need to be louder and to be out there. I keep saying that we depend far too much on government, who at the end of the day, I'll be shocked for saying this probably, but I don't think they're genuine. They don't really care about us. They care about themselves. So if you are looking to a government to look after you, you're looking in the wrong place. And that is, for me, the long and short of it, is that if we don't know that by now, we'll never know it. There is you and only you. And when you were told to shut your businesses down in the beginning of this pandemic, and a lot of people never reopened their business, and they haven't worked for now going over a year. And did they get anything from government for that? No. And why? Because they genuinely don't care. They have an excuse for everything. So we can't look to other people to look after ourselves. We can't. I can keep looking, and I do. I thank God that you came into my life, and you are speaking to me like this. However, there are people that don't have voices like this that shake them into reality. And we need to shake people into reality and say to them, stop looking to people that are not actually setting a right example. We're seeing strikes and protests where people are not wearing masks. They don't care. And are they being held accountable? No. There are thousands of them and together and doing things that are completely illegal right now. But if you as a restaurant owner go and turn the key in your restaurant and open it and allow somebody to take a seat there, you will be arrested and be held accountable. So, again, I just come to the fact that we don't have good examples in leadership in government. Look elsewhere for leadership. Look elsewhere and look internally for what you know is right. Stop explaining and blaming it on other people. You need to take accountability for your own self. And there's certain things we can do. And I say it again, get rid of the rot that surrounds you in the version of people that are sucking you dry of your life, of your energy, of who you are and what you stand for and the good that you emulate. They suck it out of you and give you nothing. Why are you keeping them in your life? Get rid of them. Honestly, get rid of those kind of people and realize, look at yourself in a mirror and say, am I happy with what I see? And I'm not saying just the physicalities. I know that's a big focus for you, but it's a big focus for all of us, and it should be. But look in the mirror, and there are times when I actually don't want to look at myself in the mirror. I walk past a mirror and I refuse to look there because I know I'm not the best version of myself. I know that. and I won't confront myself. But there are days when I need to strip down naked and look at myself and say, are you happy with what you see?
Yeah.
And right now I can say the answer is no, I'm not happy. I need to make changes, but it takes me to do it and no one else. So stop looking to other people for the direction. Look inside and ask yourself, genuinely, are you happy? And if you're not, what are you going to do to change it? And the answer lies there. I remember chatting to, just on a final note, I remember I interviewed him last year, Jay, what's his name? Jay, help me. I'm lost in my thoughts. Jay. Best blue eyes ever. He was a monk. He was a monk, and then he came, the monk who sold his Ferrari.
Oh, Robin Sharma.
No, not Robin Sharma. No, I've got the wrong book here, haven't I? Anyway, forget me. I'm in my own world. But you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Yes. So he's. I interviewed him last year, and my final question is, what advice do you give to people that, you confess all of this, find yourself, find your meaning, find who you are, find your truth, find blah, blah, blah. I said, what do we do? Give us that pearl. And the one thing he said to me is, okay, when you are dead, when it's over and you've finished living this life, and your grandchildren or great-grandchildren sit around the table and speak about you, what are they going to say about you? What did you do that they will remember you? Nothing? Or will they always speak about that one thing you did? And not that changed the world, but that rocked their lives, that just blew them away and say, what an amazing person, and look what they did. And that's always something. How do you want people to speak about you? A, when you leave the room, and B, when they're sitting around a table and it's your great-grandchildren. It's always made me think about that.
That's right. That's powerful. It's about a legacy, or what you're leaving, how you're improving this world for the better. It links to our purpose, what purpose we bring to our close community and to the world. And I know, Leanne, that you have got an international voice, an international calling, an international purpose, as much as you've got a purpose to your children and to your husband and close community. So I want to thank you. I trust that your voice, I declare that your voice would reach out there into the nation of South Africa, because I think it's so important. I know that you've got a new website, which is incredible. Where can people connect with you more and more? Because I think you're going to hold some people to account once this pandemic's gone. And I think there's got to be some accountability of government and people in leadership with regards to what's happened. And I think that you can really take that cause further. So where can people connect with you? How can they engage with you? And how can they, hire you?
Yeah. So for me, my website is up and live. It has been for a while. I've just been not finding the right time to do it, but there you go. That's another delay tactic on my side. So it's there, it's live, it's happening. It's www.leannemanas.com. I obviously am very much on social media. My Instagram, which you're on right now, @Leanne Manas, Twitter @Leanne Manas. Facebook also, Leanne Manas. And I am there, and there is so much more that's coming. Another thing that you have sort of planted in me, I mean, you must, as much as you speak about me, I'm taking so much from today and from just our interaction. I really want to begin my own podcast eventually. That's something that I want to do very, very soon, to try and talk about these issues that you're raising, and to try and create that change. The book is there. In fact, you're not the first person to tell me that. I don't know if you know, the guy I'm talking about, by the way, is Jay Shetty. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Don't forget Jay Shetty, for goodness sake. That's his name as well. And then there's also, I think two people, very high profile people, have told me about a book, and they are kind of clairvoyants that have seen it, which it will come. It will definitely come. So those are the ways to get hold of me, and all my details are there. And I look forward to an exciting future. I really do.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Leanne. Thanks for your time. Thank you for your voice that you are. Love to your man, Mark, and those beautiful children.
Thank you.
Hopefully that you can get this message of purpose, you can get this message of community out there, because I think those two are the most important foundations that drive behavior. From saying no to the junk food to saying yes to the healthy food. These things are really, really important with regards to motivating factors and causes to be able to put those habits and those lifestyles in place. Because at the end of the day, we don't want people change for 6 months. We want them changed for the long term. We want to have those blue zones, which we didn't get in, hopefully another podcast, looking at those 5 healthy areas or those 5 healthy people groups that are so healthy across the world, like the Okinawa ones that have this ikigai, which is this reason to get up in the morning. And I'm trusting that you're going to embrace TGIM and you're going to take that further. Thank God it's Monday, because I think it's crucially important that we see a Monday as important as a Friday and as a Saturday.
You're right. You're right. I know it's going to take a lot of convincing, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for everybody that's watching live. Take care, guys.
Great.
Bless you.
Have
Bye.
a good one. Cheers.
And you.
Bye.
Bye.